Sit over here. Block of view.
I told Jason.
Who?
Jason.
Jason gets it. He can really block their view.
Yeah.
Big.
I saw him at the local. The town dump. Where you meet them.
No. Do you remember Kathy?
Oh, show up in it.
She was very similar.
Then you hit, and then on.
When she ran for election,
They run that.
that's where she went.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I see all your neighbors,
So you want to
everybody.
start
Yeah.
in, so maybe-
And they're always happy to put somebody
so
down.
you minutes back, you go to anybody else.
There's a,
Control everything.
there's a $2.1 million project I'm involved in.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Hey,
So I'm Paul Kokomo. Are we recording?
Not recording.
Very good. I'm Paul Kokomo. I'm Chair of the City of Groton Planning and Zoning Commission. And I'd like to call our
How you doing?
2023 meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the roll call. So I am here. Susan Bergeron is here. Oh, I'm sorry. Call it to order at 6:33. I am here, Susan Bergeron is here. Terry Rice is here, Jim Streeter is here, and Robert Boris is here. So we have 5, we have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the July 18th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. There are 3 of us here who attended that meeting. So I think we can, last month we didn't vote on because there were only 2 of us who've been there, but this month there are 3. So I think that's enough to pass to approve them.
So moved.
All right, there's a motion from Mr. Streeter, second by Mr. Boris. Any changes if anybody have? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of the July 18th, 2023 meeting as presented, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed? Oh, Terry?
Yeah, I abstain. I wasn't at that meeting.
All right, so we've got 4 for approval, no no's, and 1 abstention, 401. All right, next up is approval of the minutes from the August 15th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Streeter. Is there a second? I'll second. Okay. All right. Are there any changes? Anybody have anything?
Because I wasn't there, should I abstain?
Yes. All right, so all those in favor of approving the minutes from the August 15th, 2023 meeting, please say yes.
Yes.
Right, there are 4 yeses and no no's and 1 abstention. All right, next item on the agenda is new business. We've got 2 applications to accept. We have number 23-002 for 115 Broad Street, and that's a subdivision. And there's also application number 23-003. That's at 125 Broad Street, which is a lot line adjustment. So we will accept those applications tonight, and then we will have they'll be on the agenda for the meeting on the in October to hear those. Anything else to say to that, Leslie?
Nope.
All right. Next item on the agenda are the draft amendments to the City of Groton Planning and Zoning Regulations for daycare. So, Leslie, want to walk us through that? What's going on there?
Yeah, a couple of pieces of legislation came through. And I drafted up, you should have in your packets, 6.1. Those amendments, the amendments are taken straight from the legislation, and so there are things we can take out and things to put in. Family daycare is daycare that happens basically within someone's house, within someone's home. And generally the legislation decreases the restrictions on what a municipality is empowered to do in terms of, for instance, we can no longer restrict the hours that kids can play outside. There are, I'll just read the two things on the top. Family child care home or group child care home located in residence and licensed by the Office of Early Childhood, pursuant to chapter 368A, to be treated in the same manner as single family or multifamily dwelling. The operation in a residential zone of any family child care home or group child care home located in residence shall not require any special zoning permit or special zoning exception for such operation. Basically, it's leaving all of the regulatory pieces of child care to the Office of Early Childhood, which is the state.
So what gets removed from our regulations are the things about the minimum play area and all those kind of things. Is
Correct.
that under state regulations that
There are.
take the place of someone that,
They've actually been there for a while.
right, so state has to license this
Hmm.
operation, right? And
Yes,
as part of
that
that,
had
they
for
were
a
like,
long time.
that, right, so they make sure it meets their regulatory requirements, but we can't put any additional requirements on it.
We treat it as a single family home.
Comments or questions from commissioners? Anybody?
If, my curiosity, if we were to receive a complaint from a neighbor about the activities, we refer them to the state.
Probably, it depends on what the complaint is.
Okay.
But that would, if it wasn't some other piece of the zoning regulations, yes. would refer them to this.
And who in the state would we refer to?
I would look up who it is at the early childhood, the Office of Early Childhood.
Okay.
And it's the licensing entity. They won't be hard. I've never had to do that,
Mhm.
which I think speaks to the rarity of it, but that'd be fine. Obscure.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Mr. Rice, anything?
No, I'm good. No, I'm good. Thank you.
So I guess another question that I had was that there's actually two things that we're talking about, a family child care home, which is in it's a child care center that's basically in a residential home, correct? And then there's a group child care home, which is something slightly different, is that?
A little bigger, and it may be
Supposed to be located in a residence, correct, in a
Yep.
residential zone? So I just on the page 2 of that information you sent about the OLR bill analysis. Talks about that a group childcare home
offers or provides supplementary care to between 7 and 12 unrelated children on a regular basis. Or number 2, meets the definition of a family child care home, except that it operates in a facility other than a private family home.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to operate.
Right, it could be a building within a residential zone.
Okay, but it doesn't have a family with it.
Right.
All right, and it doesn't impact our ability to regulate things, such facilities in commercial districts or non-residential zones, correct?
Correct.
And so this, I mean, in order to, so what we need to do here is we need to approve that change to the regulations, correct?
Correct.
By voting on it.
Right,
And
you
is it-
wouldn't do it tonight. What you are, because this isn't really in the form of an application. It's
Okay.
not an application form, but I wanted to show you a draft of it tonight, so you could see. And then we, assuming that you're all, you vote to approve having me put together the application can come before you next month. And we'll do all the noticing and stuff from here.
Okay, and that has to have a public hearing, is that correct?
Yes.
Because it's-
All facts are known.
We do have to have a public hearing. That's what I was gonna ask, the
Yep.
same question. Thank you, Paul.
All right, so do we need to vote here, or can we just give you a consensus that I think it's?
I do have a question. I don't see a definition for child daycare. I mean, maybe it's in the statute, but is it limited to certain number of children and certain ages?
Those are all the things that would be within the regulations that the child education, whatever that is. Office of Early Childhood. That's all included in what they do. They regulate the number of children and how large spaces are for those children. They basically have all of that. Regular,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, shouldn't we have a definition in the zoning law so people understand what a child daycare facility is? Because it's not only is it licensed, it's restricted.
Well, I mean, we could take the definition out of the.
Yeah, right, we can't do it differently. I'd mirror it so that people understand what the use is.
No problem.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Leslie, this is already, the wording is already attached to this document here. On the background. Family group child care homes. And it provides a general definition, I guess.
I'll check. I'll put in whatever I have.
It's we'll add a definition. All right. So sounds like our recommendation is add a definition and go ahead and move forward with it. Come back in October and do a public hearing. The October meeting is the 17th, correct? All right, okay. And then the next item is draft amendments to an infrastructure requirement of EV charging stations. That is, that would be in addition, another section added to 7.8.1, correct?
Correct. So, again, it's underlined, it's an addition, and it is putting infrastructure in for, I believe it's 30%. Of the number of oh, where you have new parking lots, more than 30 spaces, and for a minimum of 10% of those spaces we have. Charging stations. There are other municipalities that have listed, have posted things on the listserv saying they've done more than 10%. That's up to you. It's also something that no one was providing statistics on. And can always increase it.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is, the way this is written, it is at least 10%. That's like statutory requirement.
Right.
We could make it 20, but
But we're not, it's not clear whether,
there's nothing to stop us if we wanted to make
to
like
increase it.
increase.
Correct.
Fine.
You just couldn't bring it below.
10%. If we write the regulation that it's gotta be at least 10%, would we have on an application, could we require more?
Yes,
Would we have, do we have to incorporate this into our regulations?
that's what this is for.
Okay.
Same thing to have it come back as an amendment.
Questions or comments from commissioners, other? Anything else, anybody?
It's just a logistical thing. How does, who administers those EV stations? That's maybe a silly logistical thing. How does it work? So they put the infrastructure in and then is it free? Is it like, there's a third party company that charges for it?
None of that. It's different in different places.
So it's up to the,
There is no, yeah, it's, again, same issues, statistics and the data are not consistent on this either. But it would be so it would be our job to make sure that people were listing. If they were gonna have more than 30 spaces, that they have the infrastructure in to install that, and how they manage it is.
This is in effect now, correct? They have the public access on or after January 1st, 2023.
Correct. Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. But we haven't had anything with more than 30 spaces that has been.
I understand that, but should an applicant come in
Yes.
with more than this would
They
apply?
would have to
Yes.
comply with this. Correct.
The state statute requirement is in effect, yes.
Yes. Which overrides.
All right, anybody, Mr. Rice, anything, comments on this one?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right, so again, I think, consensus is, let's move forward with it. It seems pretty straightforward. We have, it's like we have any options there anyway. But we just have to write it into the regulations to allow it. All right, so we'll take the same approach on that as we did on the daycare homes. All right, next item on the agenda is the regular meeting, and that's the annual election of officers. So, the Planning and Zoning Commission has 3 officers. There's the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary. So, the way this process is supposed to work is it's nominations from the floor. So, we'll start off with the chair. Are there any nominations for a chair for the commission?
I move Paul Kunkelmeyer.
Right,
second,
I think we've got. Paul has been nominated and seconded. Are there any other nominations? All right, so first we'll vote on the nomination of Paul Kunkelmuller to be the chair. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. So the vote is 5-0-0. Everybody in attendance voted in favor of that. How about a nomination for the vice chair?
I would nominate Mr. Streeter as vice chair.
Mr. Streeter has been nominated as vice chair.
Second.
Right, nominations by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Boris. Are there any further nominations? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of appointing Mr. Streeter as vice chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so Mr. Streeter's nomination is approved 401. He abstained. All right, any nominations for secretary of the commission?
I nominate Sue Bergeron.
All right.
Second.
Ms. Bergeron has been nominated by Mr. Streeter and seconded by Mr. Boris. Are there any further nominations? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of appointing Sue Bergeron as secretary of the Planning and Zoning Commission, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? One abstention, 401 is the vote to approve Sue Bergeron as secretary. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I'm glad to.
How many years has it been?
I lost count. Ever since Dave handed me the hot potato. I saw Dave the other day. So I was- all right, next item on the agenda, ongoing business is continuing review of our preliminary draft of zoning regulation regarding multifamily housing and mixed-use development and other sections as may be recommended, and these had to do mostly with the general purpose.
Correct.
So,
I think that these incorporate the changes that we have discussed. And whatever changes you may want to add, we can put this on the agenda and do public hearings for all three, if that works.
so we talked at the last meeting, there were some comments about some things that might want to be changed a little bit, or pulling a few things from the old regulation and putting them in there. You had a chance to,
I think that's in.
in where? Is this part of it?
Did you get this?
We did not, I did not.
It wasn't in the packet.
Ah.
I didn't see it.
No, that's all I was, using my computer. I ran off everything.
Okay. Well. I'll make a copy, and I will also send a copy.
Mr. Rice.
Better late than never.
Well, maybe we should consider. Maybe we should consider postponing this, because I haven't read it.
That makes sense.
Well, good evening. Sorry, Mike.
We always need to.
Sure.
All in all,
Wherever you want to go.
I did show. Okay, Sierra's making copies.
okay, we were. sort of an offline discussion later, since no one's really had a time to, chance to read it. You know, unless you want to just walk, I mean, is there anything you want to walk us through on it?
I don't think so, no.
Just take a look at it, and
Yeah,
put it on the. Continue to move forward with it.
so what I can do is I can put it in the form of an application like the other. Everybody will have a month to look through all three. And if we don't have to vote on it next month, and but it gets us to the point where we could vote on it if we want.
Right, we're gonna have a public hearing anyway, so we're gonna have a public hearing on the other two sections, we might as well. Try to do the third one as well. Mr. Rice, you okay with that approach?
Yeah, I'm fine with the approach. I still have a problem with 6 stories, but I've expressed that, so.
Well, we can continue to have that discussion.
Okay.
So, yeah, why don't we just do it that way? We'll handle this just like we're gonna handle the other two. And we'll do the,
Inch by inch.
do the text amendment application, and we'll pick it up next one.
That makes it easier on the administrative side as well. Look things up once.
Okay. That's good. All right, next item on the agenda is report of commission. Anybody have anything? I just wanted to point out, Leslie's made us aware of a couple of training opportunities that are coming up in, there's one in, later in September. And that one's in Waterbury, right? And then there's-
The Goblin is
Then there's one offered by the Connecticut Planning Professionals. That is in Haddam, correct? And that's October 28th. Now, most of those of us who have been to the training that was provided in what was it,
by the
January?
bar in March by the
March.
bar association.
By the Bar Association, but we still need to.
I think there is a half hour. And then they went over, and it was, yeah, I think there's a half hour that you all would still need. You should be fine.
The one I signed up for September 30th covers 1 hour of affordable housing.
Right.
And it's part of the program.
Why the Bar Association didn't do that is beyond me.
This one's for the 28th, that has an hour of care and affordable housing.
Then that would count.
Well, if we went to the Bar Association training, everything else is covered, is that correct?
Everything else is covered, correct?
Okay, so it's just a half hour.
Right. And
That's
I've been,
where?
it is weird.
Where is it gonna be held?
It's one on the 28th of October is in Haddam, I think.
Yukon Middlesex County Extension Center in Haddam.
Yeah. So,
So you're gonna take an hour to drive there and listen to a half hour.
Well, the second is actually 9 to 2.
But if you don't stay there, it actually, if you don't stay, that's okay, as long as you're there for the, yeah. And that's not uncommon with planning sessions, if people come for certified planners have there's ethics requirement, there's 4 different things. There's law.
I'm sorry, that was breaking up. You're saying if we did the Bar Association all-day course, we need another half hour?
Yeah,
Okay.
I
There's no way they can make a retirement. I'm speak candidly, we're all volunteers. Okay? And to drive 1 hour to attend a thing, so we have to fulfill a half-hour requirement. I would hope, think that maybe the state might put together a Zoom meeting or something for a half hour for us, where we could all sit here right at a meeting and catch it all at once.
I can see if what other things they have in the works.
Yeah, there's some kind of.
I don't disagree.
Well, I mean, and again,
Yeah.
speaking candidly, we're asking for people to volunteer, and we're having difficulties in our community trying to find people to volunteer. And now there's a requirement that, which was fine, we attended a 6-hour class on Zoom. But now, because the people that required us to do it, neglected to provide the extra half hour, now we, the volunteers, have to.
I get it. I understand.
Uh,
I will see what I can find out.
Hypothetically,
At least try to do it by Zoom.
I'm a member and I have my, everything, my half hour, and I don't fulfill that requirement, what happens?
Is it the case where they
Yes.
covered an hour's worth of material in 32 minutes, or they, you know, is it, and say this is a abridged section, or?
I'm just gonna find out more,
Sure.
because I don't know the answers to these questions.
$45.
But,
That's it, $45.
right. Which city pays?
But still, it's a
Still.
difference to the city.
Understood.
half hour.
Understood.
And gas.
I will do my best to find the answers to these questions if I don't know the answers to.
And I did receive the other,
Yay.
thank you.
I was gonna check with you on that.
So you'll check and see if there's some kind of online tutorial we could do or something from home for an hour on affordable housing that would
Or,
meet the
or
requirement.
even if they could, a half hour while we're having our meeting, and then we come in earlier for a half hour, be a lot convenient than driving to Haddon and back. Although we probably would stop at coffee, I'm sure.
Considering it's still.
Well, we probably couldn't do that, because then we would have a forum.
That's true.
I'm gonna see what I can find out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I know you're only the messenger, believe me.
I am only the messenger. I appreciate your appreciation of that.
Okay.
I'm shooting, I'm only the piano player. Okay, anything else for a commission? Anybody have anything else? All right, public communications, do we have anything? Anything written
No,
from
but
anybody?
the one thing that I would ask is if anybody, our bench is thin. And so we're looking for people who may be interested in serving on the commission, as you know, as most, if not all of you did, starting out as not full members.
Well,
Thank you.
are we low, or we have vacancies?
We're one down from the full, or two down from the full complement. So it'd be great to just get a couple more people on in training.
Let's see, I'm sorry, what commission was that? It broke up again.
Planning and zoning, this commission.
I see, okay.
So if you know anybody who might be interested, you can have them either contact me or the mayor. All I would be is to pass through to the mayor anyway. And that'd be great.
Has anybody talked to Conrad about becoming more than an alternate?
Yes, and he's got his mom It was taken care of, so.
Understood.
He was ahead of me in mine.
All right, anything else? For the staff, anything else from you, Leslie?
No, I think it will appreciate your, helping push through the, changes to the regulations for next month, so that at least you can vote on them if you choose to.
Okay, so it's the, so when we come back next month with those, they'll be introduced. Public hearing on each one individually, as well, so 3 different public hearings that way.
It, or I can write it together as one. I could write it as one application.
Certainly the nexus there, correct?
I mean, it would shorten the time. The only, disadvantage to that is if there was a holdup on one of them, but you wanted to have the other 2 go through. Or, you know, it's kind of a smaller thing.
If I can catch up, you're proposing that we put together some of the amendments that we've been talking about. And there's a public hearing involved.
Correct.
My only suggestion would be that if you can keep them together, that would be better with regard to the public hearing. Then it might be less confusing. Multiple public hearings for multiple sections, and maybe confusing. And people may not attend all of those hearings if they think it's a repeat of the first one, perhaps. I mean, if it's all in one, maybe with enough advance notice.
Yeah, it is within a few different sections, so I can put it all together. Identify the sections that are being proposed to be amended, what those amendments are, add, delete. And then I can put it all together, or we can keep it separate. There are, the one for the GC is definitely a little bit more complex than the other 2, and the other 2 are straight from the statute. The GC zone includes, it has to include, in order to make sense, the changes to the parking and some other things. What you just got from Sierra, and we will send out to everybody tomorrow. That has, I think this has all of the changes that we've been talking about, that I've noted as we check our conversations, and things are outlined and struck as necessary.
So to get
I would suggest doing the GC separate. The others are pretty straightforward and non-controversial. GC, you may have some issues.
I agree with that. I think that's a good idea. But we are talking about having them all on the same night. So at one meeting, we would have, so if we break it down with the 2 sort of relatively straightforward ones for the daycare centers and the charging stations, which are just dictated basically by state statute. We can do a public hearing to address those 2, vote on it, and then we can have a separate public hearing to go through the GC, and there may be more discussion on that, and we could make a decision on that, or again continue the discussion. I think that makes a lot of sense what Mr. Rice suggests.
Oh, if we're talking about the same night, then breaking it up that way makes perfect sense. We kind of, preface the first section with these are by statute. We have very little influence or no influence over them. Cover it that way. It's kind of a matter of course. Then you get into the one that might involve more back and forth.
Okay, good. I think we're all aligned then. Did you have anything else, Leslie? Anything else for board staff?
No.
Nothing else going on, huh?
Hmm. Plenty going on, but
Before we move on,
And those hearings you're talking about November or October?
October.
October, okay.
under the communication, the last communications last month I gave on the phone call I received from that woman relating to the makeup of the committee. Did you ever receive a call from her?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else, anybody? Other questions or comments? All right, there's no executive session tonight, so a motion to adjourn.
make a motion.
Do we have to?
Motion from Ms. Bergeron and then second from Mr. Boris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, so we're adjourned at 7:14. Thanks,
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you. I can't read this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harvey.
Thank you.
Good night.
Should I ask who are?